Welcome back. Water supply reductions are expected in parts of Johannesburg today. We've got various areas, and City Power is doing maintenance at the Rand Water pump station in Aikenhof. So supply to various suburbs will be reduced by 33 to 40%. Suburbs affected include the northern and western parts of Johannesburg and parts of the south. Water will be provided through stationary and roaming tanks. So the City of Johannesburg has undertaken the mammoth task of collecting revenue from irresponsible ratepayers. The city is owed 38 billion rand in unpaid bills by residents, businesses and government departments. The municipality is collecting the unpaid bills under the banner of Operation Buya Mthetho. So to tell us more about that, we join now by Joburg Executive Mayor Dr. Mpho Phalatse. Doctor, thank you so much for your time this morning and welcome to the South African Morning. Let's talk a little bit about this Operation Buya Mthetho. I mean, some saying that it's a good move by the City of Johannesburg, whilst at the same time being able to take note that, hold on a second, the City of Johannesburg must get its act together when it comes to even giving the correct bill to the very same residents that we're trying to collect this chunk of 38 billion rand from.
Well, yes, definitely. So we do have some customers whose bills are not yet correct. And for those customers, we're not cutting them off. We are sorting out their bills. But the long-term solution, of course, is to get the billing system right. And that is very high up on our agenda. You'll recall that we were in government between 2016 and 2019, inherited a huge billing crisis. We had 100,000 billing queries that we inherited. In the 3 years, we managed to bring that number down to 9,000. And what we were also doing is we were also implementing a long-term solution. However, there were issues with the service provider and we were taken backwards. In the last 2 years, it looks like there's been a regression in that space, something that we're working very hard to correct. But there are those customers whose bills are not in dispute. And for those customers, unfortunately, if they're still owing us money and they're still not responding after we've issued pre-termination notices, we will be cutting them off.
Let's talk a little bit about Sandton City, which is supposed to be one of those earmarked kind of institutions where you're finding that their bill is exorbitant. How did we get to 158 million rand owed to the city? That does not make sense. That does not happen in 1 month. Surely it happens over a period of time. That means that somebody was not doing their job.
Well, there was a dispute over the tariff at which they're being billed, and this is a long-standing issue. However, it looks like there was miscommunication. In fact, there was no miscommunication. There were a lot of assumptions on the part of Sandton City. I don't want to get into too much detail, but there has been extensive consultation, and the city has made it clear that the bill is what it is and that Sandton City must pay, failing which we will cut them off in about a week's time when their pre-termination notice expires.
So then in that case, when it comes to being able to resolve the current billing crisis, right now the City of Johannesburg has got about a 5-year backlog of some of those disputes when it comes to the actual correct billing. So what are we going to do to resolve that? I believe that even in 2021, former Mayor Mpho Phalatse was speaking about this billing app that would allow for the app to be able to mitigate against the time spent when it comes to being able to see and check out your bill versus the times that you're supposed to be standing in the queue. 25 million rand was invested into that. Does that still exist? Is it operational? Is it effective?
Well, the app is really at the tail end of the solution, Faith. I think the issue of billing has to do with the data management value chain. So how bills are generated is that the entities, that's your City Power, your Joburg Works, they collect their own, or they do their own meter reading. They take that data and they then give it to the revenue department. What we found is that there's a lot of fragmentation in that whole value chain that we need to address. The MMC for finance, who's also responsible for billing and also happens to be responsible for IT, is working on a solution that's going to make sure that data management is centralized. This is going to really improve the quality of our data. And it's going to give better control to the city to be able to do oversight and see what is happening, check the data that's being inputted into the system, and make sure that it's credible and that the bill that comes out in the tail end is correct. The app is really how the customer interfaces with the city. But at that point, the bill must be correct. So the app is just to make it easy for customers to engage, to check their bills, to make payments. And yes, that work is still continuing. We are committed to giving our residents a well-run city, a city that's run through e-governance solutions. Particularly, with COVID, we don't need to be in long queues. I know that things are better now, but we've noticed that actually we can function better, and a lot of what has been instituted in the last 2 years will have to continue.
Then, Mayor, it sounds like when you're speaking about the value chain, there are people within the value chain, especially when it comes to the collection of data, who either A, don't know how to read the meters, don't know how to collect that data, are not equipped enough to be able to collect that data before it gets to the revenue stage of it. So surely then, in that case, there needs to be a lot of reviewing of perhaps even recruitment processes in terms of who gets to collect the data, how is that data collated, who collates that data, because if they're getting it wrong from the beginning, it's going to be a knock-on effect until the very end. So what are we going to do about the people who we find that do not know how to read the data? They don't know how to collect the data. Do we fire them? Do we skill them? Do we move them to a different department? Because otherwise we're going to have the same problem over and over again. Never mind the solutions in place. So long as the people don't know how to collect, you guys are going to be facing a battle.
It's not so much the people, Faith, as it is the system. It is the lack of a proper system, a system that works. You'll remember that the city was in the process of doing a SAP upgrade. The whole point of this upgrade was to tidy up the data environment of the city. Unfortunately, you also remember that that contract was linked to a Zondo Commission inquiry where the former mayor, may his soul rest in peace, Mayor Jeff Makuba, was linked to the company that was supposed to be the service provider in this upgrade. And because of that, it was since stopped. In the absence of a system that works, it doesn't matter how good your people are. You're always going to have challenges. You need to remember that the city of Johannesburg is huge. We've got over 1 million customers. There is no human resource that can manage that kind of data manually. You need an electronic system that works from end to end, that is reliable, and that's going to be able to give us credible data, that's going to give our residents credible billing information. Now,
just to interject there then, Mayor, are you saying that the system for the City of Johannesburg's collection does not work currently? It's not effective?
It is fragmented. So there's fragmentation from one end to the other. So you've got meter readers in the entities collecting the data, but revenue is within the core. So you know that the City of Johannesburg has a core and it's got entities. Entities are companies. They are city-owned companies that help the city to deliver services. Now, the entities are the ones responsible for water provision, electricity provision, etc. But revenue is core. So between the entities and revenue, we realize that there is no seamless flow of information. And then there can be challenges on that value chain. And that's what we need to tidy up and make sure that things move smoothly. And a proper system that works will be able to assist with that.
So if a proper system that works, it means that the system currently is improper, which means that we need to get efficient. Mayor, we have to leave it there. Mayor of the City of Johannesburg, Mpho Phalatse, they're giving us the latest in terms of how is it that we can get the billing crisis sorted out in the city as they try to recoup 38 billion rand.